doing communications with SCIU, Fast Food Workers Union. Hey, I want to hear some love for cooks and cashiers. Yeah, that's what's up. Hey, I'm not gonna say no to food, but that's just me. My role, my role with WFP, I do two things. One is organizing in San Diego, and the other role that I have is doing ethnic media statewide. So I focused on amplifying Black voices, AAPI voices, Latinx, and also the LGBTQ community. If you're a candidate that's running office, interested in running for office, please come and talk to me and let's get connected on how we can keep on sharing your story and amplifying and win governing power. Yes, let's do it. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for governing power. And I'm also ready for this lovely panel that we have, Women Leaders in Labor. And I will pass the mic and the word over to our excellent moderator. Thank you, Amber.
That's me. Hello. I am so incredibly excited to hear from these amazing women. You all are so lucky. Let's give them a hand before I even introduce them. My name is Amber Parrish. I'm the executive director of UFCW, Western States Council. We represent workers throughout the food chain, in pharmacy, and in cannabis. Before I get started, I know for me this is true, and I assume for most of you that it's hard to get here. It's hard to create space on a weekend, in particular for women who are mothers, for parents, for caretakers. So I want you all to give yourselves a hand for making space for this conversation, because it is not easy. It is not easy. And it's so incredibly important that we take the time to kind of have this power building sessions. The panels are incredible. We're all so lucky to learn from each other in this room. And also to the WFP staff, Jane Kim, who's a longtime friend, we're so lucky to have them creating spaces like this. So I just wanted to extend my gratitude here. But I was asked to share a few things before we get started with the panel about what I've learned in 20 years of being a labor leader. My education goes way back, further than that. I'm the daughter of two union members. My dad was a metal worker. My mom was a school cafeteria lunch lady. I grew up in the Central Valley. Hell yeah. We've also got a panelist who's from the Central Valley as well. A little particular. Veronica. I always knew my family was better off than many of those in our community because of their union job. And what did that mean? That meant and that was because of the healthcare benefits of my parents' union. I also knew what it meant for a worker to make the hard decision to go on strike. My dad was on a picket line when I was very young. My parents struggled to make ends meet when my dad was on strike. And I see that now in my own union because that is the option of last resort. And so when we talk about workers going on strike, we know what's at stake, and it's everything, right? They're putting everything on the line. What I've learned since then is a union job can break generational trauma. And I don't say that lightly. It can pull communities out of poverty. You can't have economic justice without criminal justice reform. We have to remove barriers to good jobs. And that comes with criminal justice reform. We cannot address that. That the only way to limit corporate consolidation and curb corporate greed is workers rise up together. It's the only check on corporate consolidation of power. We know every time I've been part of a big policy agenda, whether it be paid sick leave, rights for fast food workers, predictive scheduling, the only time that has been successful is when it's centered on the workers and centered on their voice. We know that the right to a voice on the job, that is the right for every worker in America, but it's often denied. So we have to remove barriers for that. We know that that worker organizing happens inside of unions, but what I've learned is it often happens outside of unions. And we have to work together to make sure that workers have a voice, not just with union membership, but in worker organizing groups around the state. I've also learned that the system is rigged against us. That is true. We all know it's true. And the only way to change it is to take power and to change the power dynamic, to break it open and reassemble it. And sometimes we get nervous talking about power, but it's incredibly important that we acknowledge who has the power and how we're going to take it. And it makes them nervous. So we need to do more of it. I don't think I'm the only one on the stage who shares these truths. I think these incredible women also have their own truths, which we're going to hear from them today. But I think the thing that women in labor share is the different backgrounds and different walks of life. We can all unite around the working class struggle. That is the place where we have the synergy, and we have to use that to be our base of the power. And the Working Families Party, we're so lucky to have this organization here in California. They have started the foundation and been the proponents of uniting the multiracial working class. And, you know, it hasn't always been easy. Just a few decades ago, and my daughter who's here, she's 10, she'll find this surprising, but it wasn't that long ago where women couldn't open their own checking accounts or have a credit card without a male cosigner. And the barriers of entry existed not just there, but also in our progressive spaces and in our labor unions. And that is a shameful part of our legacy. And I want to honor that and own that here, that we know that and we need to do better. The strategy of divide and conquer worked well for bosses and corporations who were happy to drive wedges between all of us because it meant they got to keep the power. So by working together, we're going to take it. We are the majority and we have the power. We're excited here to talk about how to build and unlock that. And I want to take this in before we get started with these women, is to think that decades ago, we couldn't vote. And now women, particularly women of color who face double prejudice, are trailblazing the way for us and leading this movement. We have fought for women's rights, racial justice, workers' rights, and now we have women like yourselves at the forefront of our movement. And this room right here on this stage, that's a testament to how far we've come. So let's just give ourselves a hand, these incredible women a hand. All right, and I'm going to introduce them, and then we're going to start asking questions. So first, we have Sofia Mendoza, the president of National Union of Healthcare Workers. Let's give her a hand. Maria Maldonado, the state director of California Fast Food Workers Union, SEIU. And Veronica Vasquez, the council member of the city of Delano and former president of SEIU 5-1. And so ultimately across industries, we see a common thread. Won't be a surprise to you that we have greedy corporations. They're trying to silence and shut down their employees while workers sustain the company. Our economy is built on the back of workers, and workers sustain that. And we see management trying to reap and keep all of the profits for themselves. And that's why we need unions and worker organizing. Sophia, tell us about the current fight with USC KEC and the challenges and opportunities for healthcare workers mobilizing.
Sure. Hi, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Well fed. So just a little bit of background about Keck Medical Center of USC. When we first organized that hospital, we had about 600 members. It actually was a Tenet hospital. Tenet is a for-profit corporation and was bought by the University of Southern California. We now have 2,100 members at Keck in the hospitals, in the clinics. We just recently organized another one of their hospitals called Verdugo Hospital, about 500 members, right? As part of, I know I'm speaking specifically about Keck USC, but our union actually this year is a big bargaining year for us. We have over 6,000 members who are in contract negotiations, are going to be in contract negotiations. And our plan is to have an offensive fight, right? We don't want to just keep what we have. We want to gain more. So that is what we're doing at Keck USC as well. Part of what we've already won, right, at Keck is university benefits. People have fully employer paid health insurance. Their kids can go to USC for free, right, if they've worked there for a certain amount of time. Specifically, there was a group of cafeteria workers who were subcontracted to Compass, who were getting paid very low wages, right, no health care. And we effectively were able to bring them in-house, and it changed people's lives. They went from, making minimum wage, right, to, the opportunity for their children to attend USC and to have healthcare. So currently, we are, in our, third or fourth fight with the university. And the funny thing about them, right, is that they're very, very well known, right? They're one of the biggest employers in Southern California, which also makes them very vulnerable. So that's an opportunity for us. They seem to always just be embroiled in controversy. I don't know why they can't get away from it. So we use that to our benefit. And the other thing that's interesting about them is they're a well-funded university, right? They're a private university. They get, donations. Obviously, the tuition keeps going up. And this year, while the trajectory for healthcare, right, is to up people's salary, we were just in bargaining with Keck, and they actually came to us with lower wage rates. So they want to lower healthcare workers' rates, right? So obviously, we are gearing up for a fight. I don't know how much time I have.
You got some.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So we're gearing up for a fight because, again, we don't want any takeaways in our contract. So this coming June 5th, we're actually going to be doing an informational picket. So I said we started at 600, grew to 2,100, right? As people organized, right, people basically just won fully employer paid health insurance, which those workers never had. So now in bargaining, what the university wants to do is they want to lower wage rates. They want to take away fully employer paid health insurance. They want to also take away, people's rights to speak up about the problems that are happening in the hospitals, right, in the clinics. And obviously what we want, right, is we want to make sure that wages continue to go up. We want to make sure that we extend fully employer paid health insurance to especially the newly organized folks. And we want to ensure that our contracts are aligned so that we continue to have power within the university. The Keck Medical Center of USC is growing, right? And we intend to grow with them. And we intend not to just be told what's happening, right? But actually have control over what's going on with the healthcare workers and the patients that they serve. So the good thing about the workers at Keck is that they are always ready for a fight. Always ready for a fight. Last year, when we were going into contract negotiations, one of them said, "This is not our first rodeo, but it's going to be our biggest rodeo," and it just keeps getting bigger. It just keeps getting bigger. So our plan, right, is we're doing this informational picket. Obviously, they're giving us, takeaways that we can't accept. And the trend right now in not just in healthcare unions, but in all unions, right, is to go on an open-ended strike. So, what we're seeing is that 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day strikes, right? Not really doing anything to move the employer. In fact, they sometimes lock people out. So what we're doing is we're getting ahead of that, and we're preparing our folks to actually stay out, as long as they can until they get what they want. So that's the plan for USC. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think the way that you talk, and this was a follow-up question, but I think you did a great job in answering it, is we use collective bargaining it's not just about the workers, right? It's about creating a community. It's information like that. We're improving healthcare systems and outcomes for patients, but through the collective bargaining and through negotiations, which I think is just incredible. I think it's also the outsourcing of we want higher standards in healthcare. We do not want lower standards in healthcare, and how you as a union are kind of focused on that and using that to engage public support. It's incredibly important. Very impressive. Awesome. So then we're going to go to Maria. We're super excited to have you join us. You have had a really amazing year and some big recent victories. We've seen fast food cooks and cashiers win big across the state. Tell us about sectoral bargaining and the organizing approach. What does it mean? And why did you use this approach to win the victories for fast food workers, an industry notoriously hard to organize? And why was it so important to win the $20 minimum wage for fast food workers? Tell us what's next with the Fast Food Council and the LA ordinance. It's a lot of questions. We can go piece by piece. I'll remind you.
Yes, okay. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here also and sharing the space with this amazing woman, and thanks for the introduction. Honestly, it's been a couple of years, amazing years, my experience organizing fast food workers for more than 9 years. It's been an incredible, humble experience because as as a woman of color, being an immigrant, and I've been there in their shoes, right? Coming to this country and being working in any type of job. And let me tell you what I have learned in my experience as an organizing fast food workers. There is more than 500,000 workers in California. There are more than 30,000 stores. It's really hard to organize store by store, striking, and the workers are so fed up that they could strike every week. We have been organizing hundreds of strikes. You have heard about the workers. They are tired and they are so brave and they are so bold. Even during the pandemic, before the pandemic, we exposed all those issues. During the pandemic, they got worse. After the pandemic, it's still happening. It's not just during the pandemic. It was horrible that they continue taking advantage of them even during that time. But all those issues like sexual harassment, wage theft, discrimination, those are things that happen every day, especially wage theft, because those corporations are not going to stop. Not that those vulnerable people, because they are immigrants, women of color, that they take it, they continue working because they are afraid to speak up, right? But they are when they come to the union and they learn about the rights, it's different story. Just yesterday we organized. I have my colleague here, Reyes. She's an amazing organizer, and yesterday we organized a strike here in Oakland at Taco Bell. 22. 22 workers walk out on the strike. They were first there are 4 workers that they are want to strike. Then 12 workers. Then last night they said there are 22 workers. Oh my God. Yeah. And we were talking about their complaint that they were doing because there are health safety issues where the cables of the some screens are open and they are afraid to be electrocuted. Manager abusing, hitting the workers, and also prohibiting them to speak Spanish, cutting their hours because they are facing. Those employers are upset because the minimum wage went up to $20. So they are using any excuse to cut their hours. So they were saying, oh, you don't speak English, we're going to cut your hours. And they cut their hours. So they walk out on a strike yesterday, and they were, when you see them believe in something, because it's hard to go on a strike, right? But they know that it's the right thing to do because things are changing. That's why they want this law. Those corporations were making everything in their power. We passed AB 257, but they filed a referendum. Many of you are familiar. They put some millions, so many thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to stop the workers, so to keep them silent. But we came with another strategy. Then we passed AB 1228, that they have a council. Finally, they have a voice, a seat at the table, and we passed $20 per hour for all the fast food workers.
And people said that couldn't be done. For years, they worked on that. And I want to talk about how intentional that stakeholder group was. UFCW represents fast food workers inside of grocery stores. So we were brought in very early on to have conversations with SEIU about what the Fast Food Council looks like, and how many people it had on it. And that's how you build power. That's how you challenge what's happening in the world and you change it, right? You create a council that's representative, that brings workers in. And it shifts the dynamic and it changes the narrative. So incredible work. Now we're going to go to Veronica. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that some of us sitting here, we're not supposed to be here. We were asked because we had two panelists who had COVID. So I want to acknowledge that, it's always women stepping in to, yeah. No questions asked. How can I be of service? I appreciate you very much, Veronica. I want you to tell us about you and your family's beginning with labor. Your grandpa, Tino, organized with Cesar Chavez and Delano. And tell us about how that kind of created how you developed that in that like family origin story, and how you stepped into your own power and became a steward in your role as a social worker for Kern County.
Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm caught off guard. Believe me, I'm excited to be here and tell you my story. But I get emotional when I talk about my family. And today's my grandma's birthday. So here we go. I was born and raised in the city of Delano. My grandparents, my Bosca's grandparents, they did the fundraising. So I grew up at the 40 acres. Those of you that know the city of Delano, the 40 acres. So I didn't know it was a big deal till I became an adult. Growing up, I would see my grandpa talking next to Cesar. My grandpa would bring all these big bands, raise all kinds of money. And me as a kid, I would just be playing there from morning to night because grandma was doing the cooking. She was on the side, and dad was security with his friends. And that was just life. That's all I knew. That's what it was about, My grandparents, we were that house on the block that had all the labor candidates, in the front lawn. I learned about early organizing, but it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized what an amazing childhood I had and how it was going to impact my future, and how I didn't realize I was going to continue my family's legacy. So that's what brings me to tears, because no matter how long I've been doing this, I'm still in awe that I'm doing it, and I actually paid attention to what my family was doing. And, and I love it. I love that I was raised that way. And when I got to college, that's when they started celebrating, Cesar Chavez Day. And I was like, well, you don't know about this? How do you not know? And next thing you know, I was talking to classmates about it. And it's like, yeah, this was life for me. This is what it was all about. And when I told my grandma, I want to make sure I cover everything. This is the other reason I was crying. Wasn't until I became an adult that my family said, here are the family treasures, grandpa's stuff. Because my grandpa, he was a historian. He kept a lot of things. And he kept the posters from I have a flag with important people signing on it. I have a book that I asked Dolores to sign, and she's like, keep this. There's only 20,000 copies. They used to make their little magazines, and I have a stack of those. So, I have these cherished history that I value. But in that cherished history, I have photo albums where I heard about it, but I didn't know my family was a part of it, where my family was beat. I have pictures of my grandparents and my parents beat by the sheriffs because they were on the picket line. And it wasn't until I was an adult that my sister and I looked at this, and it's like, we heard about it, but we didn't know. We just thought they did fundraising. We didn't know they were on the picket line. So that was an eye opener when I became an adult. And then one day I told my grandma, I started working for the county. I went off to college. My second home was East Bay. I graduated from Cal State East Bay with my bachelor's and my master's. And I always told my family, I'm going to go away to school. I'm going to learn everything that I can, but I'm going to come home. And I did. And I went with the county. I wasn't happy with the conditions of the work. And I just went up to and I went up to the labor organizer and I said, I need to be a shop steward. I work in the outlying areas and I'm not happy with the work conditions. How do I do this? And then when I told my grandma, she was ecstatic. And then I was like, okay, what's going on? We need a chapter board. Then I decided to run for president. I was a 2-term president. My grandma was just so ecstatic. Like, it was the best thing I could ever do. Like, she was more excited about that than I think my college degrees. And the union that I was a president of, it was, one of the largest in my local and one of the largest in Kern County. And those of you that know Kern County, it's an anti-labor community, and it was hard work. But when I was on the, ULP and bargaining and stuff like that, I remember those photo albums. It's like, my family paved the way, so when I'm on a picket line, I'm not getting beat. They paved the way so that I can be here and I can have the voice that I have. And I do everything in my power to empower others, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, it's about us. And that's something that my family has instilled in me. And my last beautiful story is when I became president, we started a community coalition because I let the chapter know that we can't just go to the community when it's negotiation time. We need to be working with community organizations. So we created a community coalition. So when we would go to Board of Supervisors budget hearings, we were there as one. And I met somebody from Delano, and in this community coalition, he worked for an environmental group, and he's like, Vasquez? I was like, yeah. Vasquez from Delano? I was like, yeah. And he's like, Dino, Jenny? I was like, yes. He's your grandparents did the fundraising. I was like, yes, they did. He's my family went to Canada to picket for 6 months, and because they did so good, I was there for 3 years. And that's when I had my proudest moment. It's like, my family really was part of history. And I'm very proud and happy to be continuing the path that my family has paved for me with many others.
I love that. What a beautiful story. Sophia, I want to go back to you. You have a room full of active and engaged people. What can we do to help support the plight of healthcare workers? What do you think as a community we can do to both educate and to support your efforts and your leadership?
I actually think that the biggest thing that folks can do is to support single payer.
Yeah.
The reason for that is, and this is true of all of our industries, right? But it's not a unique challenge. The profitizing of people's lives and people's health. That's the biggest challenge in healthcare, right? There's staffing, there's short staffing everywhere, right? People aren't getting access to care. People aren't getting the care that they need. And it's all because these hospital corporations want to make money. Obviously aside from like coming and joining us on the picket line, writing, to like your electeds or like, supporting whatever local healthcare worker, you have in your community, right? I really do believe that we've got to take profit out of healthcare. And that's the biggest thing that folks here can do to help healthcare workers, because that's the squeeze, right? That's the squeeze that's being put on them.
Absolutely. And it supports all of us. Like when we go to negotiations with our employers, it's never about the wages, right? It's about how much more expensive the healthcare is. And there's not much money on the table outside of that increase. So it gives us a lot less to work with. I know Unite Here shares that. Like it's a real challenge. And thank you for raising it because I think it's incredibly important. And one of my questions, which we won't have time to, is like, if you had a magic wand, what would you change? Like the one thing that you think would protect workers. And I think that one would protect all of us in a more meaningful way. So great answer. I'm going to go to Maria. Beyond wages, how else are workers continuing their organizing efforts? And what are they hoping to win this year for fast food?
Thank you. It's never been about wages, right? Like even though they won $20, and I wanted to say what it represents for workers to win $20. It's not just about fast food workers, but when they were able to win $20, it lifts other industries, right? Other people like can ask for more. See, if they could do it, if they are the lowest pay, they can, other industries are going to be benefit for that. And it means for them, like, for example, I remember a worker here, Karina, here in Castro Valley, she says that with this, she was able to leave one job, right? Because she's been working for many years, 2 years, and not spending time with her kids. There is another worker in LA that she was able to, with the 200 extra, or for Karina was 400 extra for Julieta was able to take her son to Chuck E. Cheese. Some simple things that really they deserve it, right? So, but it's not just about the wages, but about improving the conditions, right? Because there are still a lot of things that have gonna be improved, that we are trying to pass legislation with the help of workers family party. We can we won this legislation. There is a lot of things that we can still do, because they are still facing a lot of discrimination, wage theft, and they're gonna continue fighting for improve the conditions with the council, because they're gonna be part of this council, and they are the experts. They're gonna come with solutions, right? Finally, they have a seat at the table, and we are very hopeful. I'm very proud to be part of this council that is gonna is the future, like the beginning of seeing improvement, because with the federal law, it's difficult to organize, but at the state level, we are improving the conditions for the workers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Woo!
That intentional centering our stories on workers and creating space where they speak for themselves. It's governance. And I think it leads into my question for Veronica. You have such an amazing and powerful story and experience as a labor leader. And we talk about securing governing power for working families. We need people like you. Can you share your insights of being a woman of color and running for the Board of Supervisors?
Okay. This is one other reason I was nervous, because this is the first time I'm speaking my truth on the experience that I had running recently for the Board of Supervisors this past primary. Being a union president, I sat on many boards vetting candidates. So I knew what it took to be the candidate. So when I decided to run for Kern County District 4 Board of Supervisor, I knew I was a candidate, the champion. And I'm going to explain to you how and why. First of all, you heard my family history, born and raised, it's instilled in me. On top of that, I'm a 2-term union president for one of the largest unions in Kern County. And of that time, I was also on the bargaining team. I was on the E-board. I've been a county employee for 18 years. Central Labor Council delegate for Kern and Yamano. Won my Delano City Council race. On top of that, because being at the seat of the table is very important, I also ran for ADEM, won both my races, most votes. Central Committee, most votes. My Delano City Council race, most votes. Actually, my campaign manager, I don't know if he's around, but Neil, and that was huge. That was huge. I was a so-called nobody running. Checked all the marks, right? All of them, and then some. So this is my sad story. Labor broke my heart. My own union didn't even take it to the table so that the members could vote to endorse me. For this same race, I had walked for other candidates. I knew that it could get taken in the primary. I knew that they had given over 100,000 to 300,000 to candidates who, as you heard Lorena say, might be for labor. I was not a might. I was labor. When I got on the Delano City Council as an elected official, I'm the one that helped those small laborers to teach them how to lobby the other council. When they came to me, they were excited when I got on city council. And I was like, you never lobby your city council? And I helped them, I coached them. And of course, they got a raise. Even during the pandemic, I made sure, because I was on the bargaining team for my union, I knew what money needed to go to. That's the reason I ran for Delano City Council, because Delano City Council was trying to do a honeydew list with the pandemic money. And I knew, no, it goes to this, and this. So I was the champion. On top of that, I was a delegate for the Central Committee. They did a no endorsement, a no endorsement. I had been sitting on that council for 7+ years. I was in disbelief. What are you wanting and what are you expecting? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm a woman of color? What is it more that you want? Because it's about labor, being a champion. I was disappointed. My heart was broken. My family was devastated, but it didn't stop us. Because at the end of the day, the outcome was I ended up being second in that race. I didn't make it to the primary, but then I heard the what ifs. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. No, you didn't do the walk. You said you're about labor and you're about labor champions, and you didn't follow through what you preach. And I am the outcome of that. And not only did you break my heart, you broke your members' heart. And you will have to explain to them when you need membership, when you need them boots on the ground. Because you were boots on the ground for other people, but you couldn't even do that for your own member, your own leader. And that's the experience I have, but I'm still a shop steward. I'm still helping people get jobs with labor unions. I'm still helping other labor candidates. Because as you heard my family story, you gotta fight till the very end, no matter what.
Those things are not easy to say, and I commend you, because we need to have those uncomfortable conversations. We have to air out where those tension points are, where we feel like we haven't been supported. And being a change maker is fucking exhausting. It really is, right? And we need to build. I know that the reason I'm in labor is because of the sisterhood of other labor leaders that have pushed me forward when I felt like I couldn't go on anymore. And I know that you have that. I know that you have that. You have that with the women I hear on this stage. And thank you. Right. I think we have a few more minutes. So I just want, some closing remarks from all three of you, what it means to be in this space, what you hold close in this work, but it's yours to take. So we'll start with you.
I never really, I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a union organizer. I wasn't like, I'm going to be a union organizer. And I grew up and let alone leading an incredible union, right? I have the honor of leading such an incredible union. I'm so proud of like what we've accomplished. And it really is, because of this rooted belief, right, that workers know what decisions are best for them, that they need to be leading the way, right, that me as an organizer, I can make my recommendations, but at the end of the day, it's really the workers who are making the decisions. And, I think that that sort of like core identity of our union, right, is really what kind of pushes us to punch harder, to achieve more, right, to not be satisfied with a status quo, and we are able to do it because I'm not the only person that's pushing for it, right? It really is a collective effort. So again, like being in the space, is incredible. But I, I'm not in this space because of like really who I am, but because of like the people, like all of the members, right, who are fighting to improve their lives, right, to take care of their patients. That's something about healthcare, right? Like people do it as a vocation. It's not like people don't become healthcare workers so that they can make money. They become healthcare workers because they want to take care of people, and oftentimes that is used against them. And so I guess I'm just really proud, right, to be able to work with such incredible members, who don't take anything for granted, and don't want to live their lives on their knees, and they will do whatever it takes, to push for what they deserve.
Maria, same question.
Yeah, so I'm grateful to be here and be the voice for uh, the workers. Like I was sharing a little bit about yesterday, the strike, and he is one of the workers from another McDonald's, but he was saying, sharing with us that, oh, this is the best action so far. But it was amazing, and we have organized so many strikes. But the workers, one of the workers shared yesterday, saying like, I didn't know that we have a union. I didn't know that I have rights. I feel protected. I'm not gonna let them abuse me anymore. That is stay in my heart because the responsibility that we have, we are building power, we are building a union. They deserve it. They are doing everything in their power to stand up for the employers, to face retaliation. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, that what it means for them, right? Like they are not alone anymore. And so it's our responsibility to continue supporting them, pushing the legislators to be in the right side. Because sometimes they say, I'm progressive, I support the workers. But when they said, like, I support this law, they say, oh, I'm not sure. Oh, not yet. Let me think about it. But I'm pro-labor. I'm pro the workers. Okay. Can you talk about on favor of them? I'm not sure. So what side are they, right? Are they with the labor, with the workers, or are they with the corporations? That's simple, right? So with all the support, and if you tell me like what we can do, like support the workers in the actions, those are beautiful actions, and they, but there are a lot of things to do. Like there are many workers that they don't know that they have a union, a formal union, right? They becoming members, and we are in the right path to building power for them, and support their in the strike line, or like in the social media, or telling people that that they are fast food workers, that they have a union and they don't have to keep silent. And thank you to Working Families for having us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Veronica, you're up.
I love doing labor work. I love it. I mean, you have to have a backbone. It is hard work, but it's worth doing. I love every moment about it. I love mentoring. I love being at the table. I love challenging management. I love challenging the board of supervisors. But what I love even more is that I made full circle, and now I'm that elected official. Exactly what you just said. It's not that hard. You said X, Y, and Z, do X, Y, and Z. It's that simple. If you're really about labor, you stand by it and you walk the walk. And to me, it's the best thing that can ever happen, because we are the working class people. And there's not people like us doing the work. You know what the outcome's going to be. So it's all about doing the work, but it's also about helping the next generation. And I'm all about that. We need to help the next generation because somebody helped me. I'm not here by mistake, by coincidence. I had the best mentors ever, and I want to be a mentor for others because that's what it's going to take to continue the labor movement. Yeah, labor broke my heart, but many of us have many, bad breakups. And what do? Dust it off, and you move on, and you find the next best thing. So thank you. And I'm just working party family did endorse me for both my races, and they gave me the hard work that was needed, and that's why I ended up with the outcomes. So I'm not a sad story. I'm happy to be here today to share my story because there's room for improvement, constructive criticism, and that's okay. Let's just work together and move on and make things better. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we have certainly made strides for women's equity and racial justice, but at the same time, it's very clear that we still have a ways to go. We still operate within a larger environment that continually perpetuates racism, sexism, and classism. We need to continually push against these oppressive systems within our thinking, within our progressive spaces, and our greater society. In order to build the powerful party of our dreams, we must continue building solidarity across and within gender and racial communities. We got to build the partner we want to be with, I love that. I'm really thrilled to be in this historic space with these incredible women. I have confidence that we're going to continue winning victories and making strides for working families with women and women of color leaders at the helm. A heartfelt thank you to our special speakers for your support, leadership, and dedication to working families. And I'm going to take a point of privilege. I love the clapping, but I think we're with the labor panel. Does everyone know the solidarity clap? It's very similar, but just a little more impactful. So I'd like to bring that into this space right now. So. Thank you all. Sí se puede.